Hey everyone, Oso here, and I've been doing this for quite a while now. For almost 3 years I've discussed Bionicle bootlegs on this channel, and I've seen and analyzed many of them, to the point that I could kind of categorize them into 3 groups, somewhat. There's bootlegs that are basically one-to-one replicas with original Bionicle sets, which is very common to see in G2 bootlegs, and the Alien the Bank bootlegs I procured from Russia, despite what's shown on the box, look just like the original sets that were released back in the day. Then there's bootlegs that take heavy inspiration from Bionicle. Knockoffs like those from the Super Robot line come to mind, and of course this funky Onewa Hordika that is just an oversized McDonald's Happy Meal toy as well. But the bootleg in this video falls under the category of bootleg that is not Bionicle but uses Bionicle, Hero Factory, Technic, or a combination of 3 to deliver a product. Now, whether or not this knockoff actually falls under the category of a Bionicle bootleg is up for you to decide, since the majority of its pieces are not CCBS or Bionicle. However, I'm sure most people would categorize this as a Bionicle knockoff, since, like I've said earlier, it's a combination of both categories of Bionicle bootlegs, that being both LEGO and its own building system. So yes, for the sake of the argument, I'll just say that this is a Bionicle knockoff. This line of buildable Ultraman figures have been claimed to be officially licensed and produced by a company called Qman, but who or what's Qman? Well, they're a Chinese company that produces LEGO knockoffs since 1994. They actually originally went by the name of Aladdin. This is the same company that produced the Masker Bionicle bootlegs. But if you yourself have never seen the Masker line of bootlegs, I'll put an image up now. That being said, Qman mainly focuses on system bootlegs, but they've utilized Bionicle parts in other bootlegs. This Qman Ultraman figure is actually the first knockoff I've gotten from this particular company, and for a matter of fact, this is the first Ultraman toy I've ever gotten too. Spoiler, I know next to nothing about this series. This is the brick separator that's included with the Ultraman figure. It's plain to see what advantage this tool has over more traditional brick separators, like the ones made by LEGO. The original brick separator works with system LEGO, and the newer version does as well, but also allows the user to remove Technic axles by pushing up against them with the tool. The ones made by LEGO are straightforward, easy to use, and are usually provided with larger LEGO sets. Now the Qman version I feel trumps the rest, so much so I will happily use this axle puller tool over my teeth next time I build a Technic heavy LEGO set. But what's more interesting to me, and probably you too, was the CCBS style joints included with the set. There's 4 styles in this set, and it's plain to see the inspiration for each Qman ball and socket joint comes from. We have the short leg joint with ball connected to axle equivalent first. The added bonus of having open axle ports at the end of the Qman piece allows you to connect bars and of course axles to it. Even though these pieces are modeled off CCBS, this particular Qman piece reminds me of the modified Slicer or Bionicle hand that first appeared with Titan Bionicle sets in 2004. It's also to note that they have the same amount of connection points as well. The other Qman pieces are basically equivalent to their CCBS counterparts in length, but instead have pin connection points in lieu of ball joint connection points that were used to connect CCBS shells. Seeing how Qman has existed since Bionicle was first created, it would not surprise me if they wanted to combine the Generation 1 style build system with that of Generation 2 when creating the Ultraman figures. We might have even seen the return of Metru style sockets had they not gone this CCBS fusion style route. Evidence being the original pre-2008 Technic sockets, aka Bionicle hands, included in this set. But even though this Bionicle Generation 1 style piece is included, I'm sorry to say that all ball and socket joints are not compatible with actual Technic or CCBS socket and ball joints. Qman made their build system compatible with pins and axles, sure. In fact, they even include some new recolors for Technic pieces, like Technic half bushings, 3 long axles and pins, 2 long axles and pins in dark bluish gray, and 1.5 long Technic pins in black, which are cool and compatible with LEGO, but their socket and ball joints are just a tad bit smaller, meaning they cannot connect to LEGO, which really limits the usability of the cooler pieces in this build. But there is one way to get around this. In the Ultraman set, Qman gives you 5 ball joints. All of them are compatible with traditional axles, meaning you are able to connect them to MOCs and sets that use ball joints with axle parts at the end to give your characters these cool new Qman arms and legs. Now, let's talk about building the Ultraman figure. I believe this was Ultraman Tiga, but I could be wrong. So, feel free to correct me in the comments, as I couldn't find his name on their packaging or the original page he was listed on. But anyways, the construction process was, in my opinion, surprisingly pleasant. Putting the pieces together, everything fit into place without a hitch. The instructions were also clear and easy to follow, which is somewhat rare for bootlegs, as some I've seen try to crowd as many steps on a single paper. The experience was a lot of fun, and it's clearly obvious to me that Qman's quality control is on par with LEGO. There's not much else to be said here. The build process enjoyability factor was 1-to-1 with traditional LEGO for me personally, and if the 4 figures were from a series that really interested me, maybe I would have happily obliged and built the rest of the figures. But since the 4 characters seem to be clone builds of one another, I'll just build one for now. And this is the Ultraman figure, completely built. It's really just a cool action figure. One of my personal favorite features of this figure is all the points of articulation in the torso, 3 points of articulation in the middle, and both shoulders move independent of each other. When you take off the armor, you get to see the figure's really cool frame. The designers really went all out here. It's obvious to me that they really focused on posability with this figure, which I really appreciate. The skeleton is also able to be translated into actual LEGO, so I implore you all to try and build this custom torso for your own mocks. The armor also beautifully complements the Ultraman figure, as it covers up the frame very well. Something LEGO struggled with in their CCBS builds was exposed backs that made sets look unfinished in my opinion. The way the armor connects is also very interesting, as they either attach to the figure's frame with pins or these hollow pegs and bars that slide into them. It's a great way of combining Bionicle and Gunpla, as it appeals to both audiences, which is something LEGO could take note of. I do have some complaints, however. The ball joints tend to come off the axle when trying to do more dynamic posing, which I feel could have been mediated by including ball joints with axle ports all the way through, with 2 long axles with stops included in the set. Even though 2 long axles with stops don't exist, Qman could have made them, seeing how they have no problem with including custom parts in their sets. That's actually my only complaint really. The other I guess would be I think the head is weird, but that's probably just me as I'm not an Ultraman fan. So, would you buy this? I'm sure happy I did. I'd recommend this Qman figure if you love building Bionicles, Ultraman, or both. I'll have a link to the purchase in a pinned comment. Thank you all for watching. I'm almost close to 3,000 subscribers and I would really appreciate if you guys can help me get there. See you all next time.